Right, he goes, since this man's Test debut in October 2018, he's been the most prolific run scorer in Test cricket.
All right.
Nearly 1,500 runs at 63. Let's make that 65. Men's Test Player of the Year in Australia. One of Wisdom's 5 Cricketers of the Year. We obviously never doubted that from the start.
Never.
You can check the record on that.
Yep.
At the live shows especially. And now he's headed for another bubble. Marnus Labuschagne, pleasure to have you on the show again.
It's a pleasure to be on, guys. It's always good fun talking to you guys.
We'll see. Marnus, grade cricketers, as you know, have unrealistic goals. It's kind of part of the ritual of being a grade cricketer, you know. The season started now. Many months ago, players would have sat down, they would have gone to their culture sessions, you know, whiteboards, etc., and they would have set lofty goals. What are your goals for the year? They would have put it up in front. And for many, it would have been, 800 runs and 40 wickets for the year, despite having never shown the potential to even do that.
Yep.
Are you a goal setter? And if so, can you give us an idea of your goals for this summer?
Look, that's actually an interesting question you bring up. Because I'm not a big fan of goal setting at all, actually. Because I've had 2 instances. I'll give you 2 examples where I did it. I went to England in 2013, and I said to myself, I want to get 200s this season. And the bowling was always an added extra, so how many ever wickets, but, I want to get 200s. And played the first game, I got 130 not out. I was like, oh, good start. Played the next game, got 130 not out. And then didn't get 100 for the rest of the time I was there.
Job done. So tick the boxes early.
And what I realised with that is, because subconsciously when you set that goal, you then, when you achieve the goal, it doesn't matter how much you convince yourself that it's not enough. Before you came, that's what you thought to yourself. So all of a sudden, I felt myself, I didn't get I got a couple of 80s and a couple of 70s, but I didn't get another 100 for the rest of the 16 league games we played that season. And I said to myself, I was like, I'm not going to do that again, because you just restrict yourself in what you could potentially achieve rather than achieving, above and beyond. It's the same thing if someone asked me, what was your goals for last summer? There's no way I could have predicted that I was going to get 400s and 300s and a double 100.
Well, if you saw New Zealand's lineup for the last test, maybe.
That's harsh. That's harsh. It's kind of like that quote, shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars, which is a silly quote because, stars is much harder to achieve than the moon. Even if you miss, it's literally no one's ever been to the stars before. So anyway.
And then you land in the star, then you burn up, so it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly right. Yeah. Light years away, you can't make it back. Minus,
you're spot on.
On that note, you're currently, maybe you don't want to talk numbers, but you would be aware that you average 63.4 in Test cricket,
sure.
And there's a lot of anomalies around stats and whatever, and Vo just had minimum 20 innings, so now he's, in the top 5 averages of all time or whatever.
Right.
Many people would say, especially at the sides of their mounts and the members' bars of, Sydney and, Brisbane, Melbourne and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. 63.4, it's going to come down, it'll come down. But I wonder with you, just the way you're talking, is that 63.4 going to come down? Or, is that the way you're thinking about it?
Absolutely not. I want it to go up.
Yeah.
So for me, that's about finding ways to keep scoring runs. And I think that comes back down to that limitations and not putting any of those limitations on yourself about what you can achieve. At the end of the day, if it comes down, it comes down. If it goes up, it goes up. But you got to find the process to actually achieve, to try and keep it as high as you can and score as many runs as you can and win as many games as you can for Australia. I think that's got to be the primary goal. I think once you get into, the finer details of statistics, it becomes hard to, you just got to keep making your processes the part that you really worry about how you're batting, what you're trying to do, and then the rest sort of come as a result of that.
Marnus, you're obviously very process-driven, but you're also a hard worker because I've been following you on Instagram closely for a number of years now. But I've seen you doing lots of hard work in the backyard with slips catching. In the back, first of all, let the listeners what the setup is in the backyard.
Yeah, look, people always ask me about this. Actually, I think Starkey asked me, what are you going to do over the weekend? And when we
balls.
came out of quarantine. I said, I'm probably going to pop down and watch probably the first couple of hours of grade cricket on Saturday. He was like, you're joking. I said, no, I'm being genuine. I'll probably go watch my best mate. He's opening the bowling. Go watch him bowl, and then maybe go home and just relax. I don't know, come up with some things to do. But I think there's that genuine part where there's two parts for it for me. You know, professional cricket is the part that is your job, but you never want to forget the reason why you actually played cricket as a kid. And that's sort of the part I really love. You know, when you come home and you're playing a bit of garage cricket or backyard cricket, or coming up with different games as you would have when you were a kid. About, you know, there was still like some really good elements of training within that, but you never did it because you're like, I want to train my catching. You did it so you could get that perfect nick off the stumps, or you did it so you could bowl that perfect ball and nick your mate off and have your other mate catch it as a wicket keeper. You know, they're the times in the backyard where you're like, you know, they're the moments that you talk about. So you never want to forget that, because I think once you forget that and it becomes real job orientated, you lose the love of the game.
It's Redlands, isn't it? Redlands is your grade club in Queensland, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, so when Marnus Labuschagne comes down to grade training, I mean, are you talking to fifth graders? You know, you wearing your baggy green down there? Like, are they asking for bats? What's going on when Marnus turns down to Redlands training?
When I come to Redlands training, look, I've always got a sidearm and probably a new ball. You know, I don't sidearm I'm happy to sidearm for hours to you, but if I don't have a new ball, you won't be seeing me do the hard yards with the sidearm, that's for sure.
So you're trying to
walk into my net, it's a challenge net. You know, it's one of those coaching sessions where you go, you know, we're really looking to challenge you today, and swinging it both ways, nipping it with a brand new Duke under lights. So you got a red Duke under lights. They can't see it, but that's not my concern. Mate, just tough it out, grind it out. I really don't. I love going down to grade training and talking to the boys. Like I said, I've got a lot of mates there and a lot of friends that are playing at the club closely, that I'm close friends with. And, you know, always, you know, if I've got some spare time and go down and, you know, sidearm to the boys or bowl a few wobble scenes at them obviously with a brand new Duke. I'm not bowling with an old ball, that's for sure. There's heaps of that. And, you know, there's occasionally, especially the kids that I've coached since they were very young. You know, we talk about batting, we talk about cricket, and about, you know, certain things they're facing now that I can relate to, because, you know, I was in that same situation 6-7 years ago. So, you know, just being able to give a little bit of wisdom and a bit of, you know, encouragement in those areas, and sort of give them the bigger picture rather than looking at it such, because I know when I was their age, you know, all I looked at was, you know, each weekend, you know, was like the World Cup. You know, you're like, I have to score 100 this weekend, and then you didn't, and then you didn't, and then you didn't. So just looking at it more big picture.
I'm so curious about what you said earlier about, you know, trying to remember or separate the professional part of cricket with loving the game. It just seems to be something that doesn't seem too hard for you. It seems to come very naturally, that love of the game, and you accentuate it. But obviously, from what you've said, it's something you think about and work on too. Like, how much of the professional game do you think makes it difficult to continue your love for it? I know that sounds really strange to say in one sentence, but we do. Part of the joke of the grade cricketer is that people end up becoming very jaded about the game because it can really wear you down and get you down. Like, do you observe that a lot among the international and professional players that you play with? A lot of guys doing it for a job, and how do you keep your love for it?
Well, I think for me personally, I've definitely not reached that stage yet in my career. You know, I wake up and when it's training day, I'm excited. I was just saying to my wife, we're driving in a car, and I just realised, geez, we got training. I got a top-up session tomorrow, and I was like, geez, how good, I get to go and have a hit tomorrow. And just that, you know, genuinely going to training and having a hit, catching balls and bowling, you know, I don't see that as you know, as training. I just see that I'm going to play cricket. I'm going to do what I love. But, I mean, that doesn't mean that there's not elements, you know, over a long period of time where you do go, today's a grind, you know, today's, you know, like a work day, if you know what I mean. You know, it's a flatty, you know, you're going to be in the field all day. You got to find things to amuse yourself, get the boys up. So I think that's the part where I think the game can sometimes wear people down is the fielding, and they can, like, especially the schedule now can be very busy as well. But you just think about that element of when I go to the beach, or when I still want to go to the beach, my first thing I pack is a tennis ball and a tennis racket. Catching high balls in the water. That's a must. But you don't do that because you're like, I'm going to train catching high balls. You just do that because it's fun.
Let's get 10. Yeah. I mean, Mark, we hear all the time about Steve Smith shadow batting in the hallways of hotels and stuff like that. I mean, are you the same? Can you switch off from cricket as well? You have that same sort of compulsive, obsession type thing about just getting the technique right, feeling the bat in the hands. I mean, I've heard in the past about you being able to pick up, your club mates' bats blindfold and know which bat you're holding, that sort of thing, which is insane for a start. But I mean, can you switch off from it, or are you doing the same thing as your close mate Smudge?
Look, I mean, we probably have slightly different reasons for doing it. He probably does it more from a technical and probably more thoughtful point of view, where sometimes, I'll pick up the bat and I'll just swing the bat in my room. There's always a bat in my room. I make sure of that. And that's more just kind of letting my natural instincts take, I think sometimes your best training elements are when you're not actually thinking about it, because that means your subconscious is doing the work, not you. It's not like you're thinking about, how I'm swinging. You just pick the bat up, tap it, and have a few swings, and you put it back down. But yeah, there's definitely elements where I find the best part, and this is what I always say to people, I can separate cricket as in when I walk out and you play for your club or your state or Australia. You can separate that with when I get home and, we're in the garage, we set up a nice tough wicket with, a few slips, and you run in and you're bowling with the ball. The seam is like the ball's been in the water and you've put it in the fridge and it's hardened up. It's that big. Taped up tennis ball with about 40 layers of strapping tape on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I would say I don't get tired, and I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think I need sometimes you can play, you can have a big day, spend the field, you have a big game, and you have 2 days off. Like, for me, the 2 days off is for physical preparation so you can rest your body. But, mucking around in the garage or doing, having a bit of fun, doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's kicking the soccer ball in the backyard or doing that, that stuff's ingrained in me, just that fun element of cricket, but also other sports as well.
I just want to pick up on that, Marnus, because there's all this other stuff we want to talk about with India, but let's leave that alone and get into the important things. I mean, you talk about the separation between, how you play in the backyard with mates and how you play for, say, Australia batting number 3, etc. But, or grade cricket. A lot of people would say they can't separate that at all. I mean, one of the great conundrums or dilemmas of our time, if you're the cricketer in your family or in your friendship group or whatever, managing your way through a backyard match with family members who might be playing very casually, like a ritual on Christmas Day, can be difficult. Do you stand there and do you make 247, off 80 balls and treat every ball on its merits, regardless of whether it's your grandfather, your dad, or your 6-year-old niece? Or do you hit catches, and do you do that condescendingly to people so as to say to them, look, I do play cricket, I'm not even giving you what I'm able to do? I mean, when you go out and bat at Christmas Day, are you number 3 for Australia is what I'm saying?
No, yeah, definitely. If you rock up, if you think you can come into the garage and just knock it about without trying, you're joking yourself. The conditions in the garage are that tough. I mean, if you get 20, it's like scoring 100. I mean, the ball is doing that much, plus some dubious umpiring. And, so I think that's, and I've always said this, but the best backyard game is a game that's bowler friendly.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I've always said that.
No one wants to rock up. You'd rather play 4 test matches, 2 innings each, 4 test matches, than play 1 test match and one bloke rock up, smack 100. No one's got time for that. You go on flat ball, you go into the bouncer. No. Just pitch it up, bowl nice, just nip it around. It's good. It's good for everyone.
Do you still sort of dominate, though, with your mates?
Yeah.
Look, we do have some sort of ranking. I don't have it here. We have a garage cricket ranking.
Oh, it's like Top Gear.
Yeah, no, we genuinely, it's actually, my mate who's got a podcast called We Got the Chocolates, they've talked about it a little bit on their podcast about our rating of, you know, you get a rating for bowling is key. And so when you play a test match in our garage, you know, it's 3-on-3. So we got a group 3-on-3, and you have to bowl, bat, and keep. So you get rated on all three facets of the game. So, you know, we got a few guys that are, you know, dominant in the bowling department, but, you know, the batting department's where you really get separated. And then we got some hefty buys rules. So if you keep and misses one, it's 2 buys. So in a game where the team score could be 20, 8 buys could cost you the game.
Yeah.
Cost you the game. Indeed.
Nothing worse. I mean, what's the chat like in the garage? And it's really harp on this garage stuff with mine. I mean, like, actually, Pez, you were telling a story last week about Dean Jones facing a net bowler back in the day, and like, he was just whipping him off the pads, and he said, "Don't you watch TV?" I mean, are you doing the same sort of? Mars, you're also very good off the pads. Like, you know, are you doing the same sort of thing? Your mate sort of slips one down leg side, or gives you a nice juicy half all the outside off, and you cream it through, you know, the second house car or whatever. You know, are you just are you talking smack?
Oh, there's definitely some smack talk, have to, like, and that's from everyone. You know, it doesn't because, like you said, you got to find a way to stay in there because it's usually quite a quick turnover.
Probably carries more weight.
There's a lot of banter and there's a lot of, you know.
You don't want to tell us what happens on the field there, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Exactly.
Quite spicy, obviously.
It's Fight Club, but backyard cricket.
First rule.
Well, okay, let's move. Okay, people are probably like, all right, that's enough of that.
Oh, yeah, we get it. He's got a garage, yeah.
I just want to pick up. Yeah, he's got a garage and he hits one of the meat freezer every so often. Okay. Just picking up on captaincy here, man. It's a funny thing in Australia, you know, like bowlers aren't allowed. This is according to convention, right? You know, these are unwritten rules. Bowlers aren't allowed to be captains. Keepers as captains are frowned upon. Most teams have 5 or 6 batsmen. 2 of them are usually young or new or struggling to hold their spot. So the remaining 4 are candidates for captain. And then in Australia's case, one of them's not allowed to do it, and there's a bit of controversy about the other one. Enough said about that. So really, it's between you and Travis Head for the next Aussie Test captain. Would you do it? You all right?
And Tim Payne's got a bit of trouble with the hamstring as well. So, you know, are you going to battle bowl first when you win the toss at the Gabba?
Right, that's pretty funny, that. Look, you know, captaincy, I don't think is something that you, as a player, sorry to go all serious on here, but
Just tearing up.
captaincy is obviously, I'd love to captain Australia. I don't think there'd be any cricketer in that team that would say no to getting the captaincy. But I definitely think captaincy is not something that you necessarily seek for. It's something that kind of comes to you. And I also don't think you need a title next to your name to necessarily, be a leader and have input within a team. But, obviously with the calculations you made then, it's down to 2. So
that's just the Australian way, you know. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's exactly what a captain would say.
Pretty statesman-like answer, yeah.
There's always a lot of chat about. I want to keep talking about, you know, Marnus, the guy who loves cricket versus guys who don't. But I think it's well-worn territory. So something kind of in the middle, like. You're about to go into the bubble. You're about to go into Adelaide quarantine hotel where every cricketer's going to be coming in and out. And, of course, the trope with you is, you're a cricket nuffy. You love talking about cricket with Steve Smith only. Everyone jokes about that, even though they probably love cricket and they've just got identity issues. Like, aside from Steve Smith, who's the most underrated cricket nuffy or non-kind of celebrated cricket nuffy who likes to hide that side of themselves from the public for, you know, Julio reasons that you do enjoy talking cricket with?
Travis Head.
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. I'm trying. Let's go through them.
But do you know what I mean when I say that, though, Marnus? There are guys who are like, look, I'd prefer to talk about anything but cricket. It's like, mate, you play for Australia. You've played your whole life. You love the game.
Yeah.
You love talking about
name averages and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, me and Steve are definitely on probably that wavelength. Who else do we have? Let's go through it.
It's not Cummins.
Warner, Finch. Cummins is closet. Actually, I'll tell you who's very closet is Josh Hazelwood.
Okay,
interesting.
Like, and I don't mean he probably doesn't come out and say he doesn't like it, but I think he kind of comes across like he's just, you know, a little bit, you know, I don't know. I don't know what your feel is, and you can maybe elaborate on it.
Country, just sort of say things side of the mouth.
I've always been good. Yeah, I don't really want to do this.
Little quips here and there.
Prefer to work on the farm.
There's so many times where, during this year, I walk into him and he's like, "Oh, did you see that game last night, the IPL, or did you see they were playing there and they're doing?" I'm like, you caught me a bit off guard there. I didn't think you were going to be on, but like even more specific stuff like, did you see that person bat or that? And I'm like, oh, geez, that's so he would be one that I think slips under the radar in that sense. Just because, he's a country fella, he's, a bit more, comes across a bit more laid back. Tim Paine. I mean, I don't think Tim Paine, I don't know what you think Tim Paine comes across, but Tim Paine is a snuff. Tim Paine is a nothing.
Yeah.
He's, we've been talking up, team room cricket all off season, can't wait to get in the test bubble so we can play a bit of, team room cricket. We had a few great battles last year, me and Paine versus Davey and Joe Burns. I remember one day what did we do? We played all day and we came back and we played about 2 hours. We played the first test in Perth, came back and we played about 2 hours of changing room team room cricket.
That's what I like to hear, frankly. I need this from Australian players.
Just to clarify, me and Tim absolutely dusted Davey and
people
and
are wondering.
I think really dominating with the ball. I think Tim's got a great wrist, and it really helped with the keeping. He actually got a stumping to win us the game.
Did he, mate?
Did he?
He actually did. Stumping to win us the game. Joe Burns tried to run down, and it was left-handed batting, so he had to bat opposite hand.
Yeah.
And he just panicked, and it nipped away from him, and he got stuffed.
You set him up. Talk us through it, Mars. You set him a couple of out swingers, then one in, or cross seam stuff?
I knew he was panicking. They needed one to win, which means you just need to hit an object in the room, and that's two, and you get the win.
Yeah. Right. Let's ask about Tim Paine then, because he sort of will be right in the middle of the nerd Julio thing then, because Tim Paine, uses Botox half the Aussie side. Is that your bag as well? I don't understand. Would you be getting into that? So a couple of guys use Botox, they're cool with that, and also just love dressing room cricket. I mean, what would Ian Chappell think about this? What's DK Lilly thinking about this?
Look, I don't fall in both those categories, that's for sure. But I definitely fall in the trying to make it fun for the boys. We're always trying to muck around and find ways to keep enjoying it. And I think Tim's very good at that. It's a lot of fun. Last summer we had, not only did we win a lot of test matches, but we also won a lot of changing room or team room test matches as well, me and Tim. So
great summer.
So it was tough to say which one was better, to be honest.
Just finally, one for our. Have you got any more, Higo?
No.
So just one for our Indian listeners as well. We sort of note last time India were out here. I know you weren't involved, but it occurred to us that Pujara seemed to cause more troubles for the quicks than Kohli. And it's been, wouldn't necessarily say confirmed, but suggested by a couple of your colleagues who bowl quick for Australia that Pujara is the primary concern. I mean, in the alpha wars between Chiteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli, who wins? Who's Australia who's Australia more concerned about this summer?
Rahane.
I think you're more concerned about Virat Kohli taking the game away from you. I think Pujara is like a slow death. It's a grind, and I think we're a different team than we were 2 years ago as well. We got a lot more consistency in that batting lineup, as well as I think we will have the same bowling attack, but I think it's just a lot more confidence within the team, especially with Dave and Steve back. I think it does make a difference, although, you might have the same bowling attack, but I think it makes a difference in the feel and the confidence of the side. But I definitely think, if you can dominate or really neutralise Virat Kohli, it does have an effect on the rest of their team as well.
Very diplomatically spoken, like a future statesman.
Just get that blazer sorted, Marnus.
Marnus Labuschagne, thanks so much for joining us again on the Grade Cricket. And look, we may have to have a spin-off conversation just around backyard and garage matches down the track, given they seem to engender more passion.
I'll have to send you some footage, boys. I'll send you some of the close DRS calls we've had.
Okay, mate.